All right, so this is ArtMarket prep, and we're going to go over event logistics, prep and organization, tabling and display, payment and sales logistics, pricing strategies, taxes and legal considerations, customer engagement and sales, growing your art practice, and Q&A. Event logistics. Here's what to expect. Saturday, September 27th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the second floor of the 950 building. Arrive by 9 a.m. to get set up. You'll have 2 hours to set up. You'll have 1 hour to tear down. So that's from 3 to 4. You can take a break whenever you'd like. You just ask your neighbor to watch your table. Everyone will share a table, and you'll have a black tablecloth. You'll have a tabletop space that is 3 feet by 2.5 feet. You will also have a chair, and you're welcome to bring your own tablecloth or banner to place over the black tablecloth. We're going to have you refrain from asking for donations. I think the alumni are going to be very excited to support you and buy your merchandise. There's going to be a green room to place your bag, and that's where you'll go and take breaks. And for the display only folks, you'll have a little sign on your table, and this will help so that you don't have to explain, when people want to buy your amazing stuff, you won't have to explain, over and over again. This is a non-public event, so only current students and alumni can attend. So we encourage you to invite your peers and faculty. We are estimating about 150 alumni will be at the ArtMarket. And it's hard to say, but that's kind of our guess based on ticket sales and what else is going on. Creative Careers will promote ArtMarket to encourage students to attend. We're going to put posters up. We'll really get the word out. So prep and organization. So this is to help you stay organized and plan effectively and create some systems so that you have a smooth operation. And hopefully this is not your only ArtMarket. So you can use these systems going forward. Before we get into that, I want to talk about mindset because some people in their application talked about one of their biggest challenges would be not comparing themselves to peers. And that's totally understandable. It's there's you all are very talented, and that's kind of a natural thing for us to do. I want to invite you to have an abundance mindset. There's enough resources and opportunities and possibilities for everybody. And if you find yourself comparing yourself to others, redirect your thinking and focus on your progress. Notice what concrete steps you've taken towards your own goals. That's really who you're competing against is yourself, right? This is a learning context and a learning opportunity. So your mission, because we're also going to have a mandatory post workshop. So your mission, I'm planting this seed now so you can keep an eye out for it, is to identify 3 insights that you've learned throughout this opportunity. So it could be something in kind of setting up or preparing. It could be during the event or afterwards. But at the post workshop, I'm going to have everyone share 3 insights. And then we're going to make a zine out of it. So we'll create a piece of art, something tangible together with what we've learned. And then I also want to remind you, because I know you can get caught up with it's personal, it's your stuff, you put all this time and effort into it. Try to separate yourself from your work. Your value and who you are has nothing to do with how much you sell or don't sell. It's not a reflection of you. So really try to make that separation. Okay, so if you haven't joined the ArtMarket Slack channel, please do. That's a great place to share resources, insights, ask questions, share your process. For those of you who have done ArtMarkets in the past, you have more experience than I do. I have never done an ArtMarket, so I'm also new to this. I've done a lot of research and I've consulted with some students that are experts with ArtMarkets. And so we're all learning together. We're all in this together. And if a student asks a question and you know the answer to it, please answer it. want this to really feel like a vibrant community where we're sharing inspiration and encouragement and resources. Okay, so budgeting and organization. Track the costs of materials, printing, and any miscellaneous supplies. I made a spreadsheet for you that I'm going to share when I share the recording. And it's a spreadsheet that will help you monitor expenses and expected revenue. And this is good to keep track. You're going to need this for taxes later. We'll talk more about that in a few slides. So, you want to be documenting you want to be documenting all the money that you spend and what you're planning to charge. And then during the event, when you're selling things, you want to check off what you're selling so that you can do the math afterwards and find out what your P&L is, your profit and loss. Did you make more money than you spent? Okay, suppliers. It's now a little too late to be ordering. Maybe there's a couple suppliers that you could do a rush payment or local suppliers. But for the most part, I put this in because this will be helpful for the future. But you want to identify reliable suppliers. I shared, and I can share it again, a manufacturing resource guide. Um, and you can consider local shops that might still be viable, with our time frame. I would ask fellow students and alumni and professors kind of who they use. You want to check delivery times and just make sure that you're going to get your purchase before the art market date if you do decide to order some stuff. I also made a checklist and a timeline. I will share this with you as well. And it's essentially divided up like what you should be doing each week. So we're 3 weeks out, I believe, a little bit. We're less than 3 weeks out. So here are the things that you should be doing now, you can be doing kind of 2 weeks out, 1 week out, day before, day of. And I'll send this to you so that you have it. You could be tracking your progress. Packaging and presentation. So have a plan for how you're going to package each item when you sell it. Do you think about small boxes, clear bags, recycled bags? If you've got extra fabric and you know how to sew, maybe you make some fabric bags, protective sleeves, maybe business card or something that has your name so that you can give as a receipt. If they bought one thing from you, chances are, they'll buy more things. So if you've got a website, that would be great to make sure that they can get a hold of you and follow up with you. You want to label all the prices clearly and think about what you'll give the customers when they purchase something. Inventory. So you want to bring a mix of high and low priced items to appeal to all buyers. You have two distinct audiences. We have older alumni who have disposable income, and then we have your peers, right? Your students that are your age who will be drawn to the lower price points. So you want to be thinking about offer a range. You want to make sure that you keep up backup inventory of your best sellers or of the things that maybe are a little bit less expensive. They're more likely to sell more. When you do a practice run of your table setup, and we'll talk about this in future slides, but I would encourage you to do a mock-up. You know what the dimensions are. Mock up your table ahead of time. And so that you can work out kind of where you're going to store your inventory. One thing I heard from people that are veterans of art markets is that it can get like you get this crush of customers. And if you don't have a plan for where your inventory is going to go, you can really get disorganized quickly. So you want to be thinking about like what's the process? When someone buys something, where do you keep your packaging? Where do you have your like expense sheet where you're kind of checking off like what was just bought? So you want to work that out by practicing ahead of time. Okay, tabling and display. This is to maximize visual appeal and professionalism on a limited budget. So use mock-ups before the day. Take a photo of your reference. So you do your mock-up table, and this will help you think through everything. Take a photo of it because then the day of, you have that photo and you can recreate it. You want to have all your decisions made before the day, right? The day of is all about execution. You've made all the decisions already, where things are going to be and how they're going to be displayed. Think about height and separation. You want your items at multiple levels, eye levels, not all flat on the table. So you want to create verticality. Think about shelves, risers, crates. Think about visual hierarchy. What's the first thing when you do your mock-up table? What's the first thing your eye goes to? And then how does your eye move around the table? What grabs people's attention? You also want to keep it lightweight and portable because you're going to be packing and unpacking. So plan that too. Do you have a suitcase? You should have it all packed up ahead of time so that you know that you've got the right equipment to like bring your stuff. Think about repurposing items. Most of the time, things in like your kitchen or your office around the house can act as a display tool. Look for stand shelves at yard sales, Facebook Marketplace, thrift stores. So representing yourself, you want to think visually, have a cohesive visual story or brand. Some of you have a brand already, and that's great. And some of you don't. Don't worry, don't feel like you have to like have a brand. But think about how do you have a cohesive visual story? You can do that with color, you can do that with copy. What is the first impression that you want to make? And think through the whole process, each touch point. So like that signage, it's price tags, it's packaging, it's business cards, all of those you want to be consistent, right? You're telling kind of one consistent story. Here's some examples of table layouts and merchandising, and you can see the heights. You can see how they really create verticality, and you can kind of see some of the things that they've used for displays. You know, you want to think about like the original things that you're selling. Maybe that's is spotlighted. That gets, good real estate on your table because that's probably a higher price point. You can group things logically. Maybe small prints are in one area. Someone was asking about wearable art. If you've got a mannequin, you could bring a mannequin or maybe hooks or some stand, or maybe it can hang on the front of your table. You can use colors and materials to create a cohesive look. And you want to display things so that it's easy for customers to pick up the items. If they feel like they're going to mess up your display by like picking something up and looking at it, they won't. And if they pick it up, they're more likely to buy it. So you just want to make sure that it's very like customer friendly. It's approachable. Okay, storytelling through display. You can incorporate small signage or labels that explain your process or your inspiration or medium. And this is helpful because, you might have a couple customers at once and you can't engage all of them at the same time. And so people who are passing by, or some people maybe they're kind of a little shy, they don't want to fully engage yet, but they want to get a little bit of a sense. So having tags that have a little bit of the story behind your items might be a good idea. Non-merch essentials. Bring tape, scissors, business cards, packaging, phone chargers, safety pins, binder clips, dowels, tissue paper, ribbon, cash, and I'm sure there's a lot more things, water bottle. Have a running list. And as you're thinking about things ahead of time, you could start making a pile of things you're going to take, a week beforehand. Um, so as they kind of pop into your head, you can just add it to the ArtMarket pile. So this is a list of household and low-cost display items. And again, you're going to get this deck. So you'll be able to really like look through this. But there's just some great sheets here, like old picture frames. You can remove the glass, use as a tabletop stand. Ice cube trays or muffin tins are good for separating small like earrings or smaller pieces. So there's some good ideas in here. Okay, payment and sales logistics. Let's make it easy for you to get paid. Standard options are Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, Cash, and I would add Square to this. Have at least two accounts and practice a transaction before the event. So when you do your mock-up table, grab a friend and play out the sales pitch, right? Like what we're going to talk about this in a couple slides, but you should have, a one or two sentence kind of pitch for each item. So you can practice this and you can practice the payment with your friend and just make sure that it's like your account is set up and it's all good to go. You definitely want to have two forms of payments just in case one is down for some reason. And I was told you don't need a Square device to use Square. So you can look into that. I know that's a common one that a lot of vendors use. And bring cash to make change. And have an envelope to store cash or somewhere to kind of store your change. Okay, sales tips, practicing the mini pitch for each product. And there's a lot of different ways you can take this, right? You could talk about like what inspired you to make it. You could talk about the process. Maybe you use really unique materials or, it was a new type of process that you'd never done before. Or you can talk about the value of it, like what does it represent? So there's so many different ways that you can talk about each item, but you want to practice that ahead of time. Not that you have to have it memorized, but once you've kind of got it in your head, you could even make like little cheat sheet the day of, just so that it kind of rolls off your tongue. You've said something a few times, you kind of like are able to say it in a way that feels natural, but you can consistently repeat it as well. The more context that people have about something, the more connection they tend to feel towards the object. And the more connection they feel, the more likely they're to buy the object. You also want to think about what problem the item might be solving for your customer. Are they looking at something that on your table and it's like, oh, that would make a really unique gift? Do you have any birthdays coming up in your, among your friends or family? Oh, that's like a really bright picture. Oh, that's great for brightening up the room. So you can give them ideas of like what problem your objects could solve for them. Taxes and legal considerations. So you want to learn about your tax responsibility to be legally compliant. And we're going to have a post workshop as well. So we'll go more into this at the end, but it's important for you to know because you need to be documenting how much money you've spent and how much money you've made. You're going to need that information later. Okay, so sales tax. So anyone selling tangible goods in California, that's called there's a retail sales and it needs to be collected. In Pasadena, it's 10.5%. So 10% is pretty easy to figure out. And then the 0.5 is you add 50 cents. You're going to want to round number things because no one's going to really have change. I mean, I guess if you're doing digital payment, it's fine. But here's how you calculate sales tax. Um, so suppose your item is $20, you convert the tax is, 10.5. And so you multiply 10 times 1.105 and you get $22 and 10 cents. So what you might want to do just to make it easy is just add 10%, or add 11%. You want to like if you don't want to have like it's good to have round numbers. It just makes it easy for everybody. But you will have to pay sales tax on the other end of it. So you want to make sure that you're adding that to the price that you're charging. Declaring income. So for many of you, this might be the first time that you need to pay taxes. So this means that every dollar that you earn from selling your art or your product is considered taxable income. And so even if it's just a one-time student art market, that means you have to pay taxes on it. So what you need to know now, what you need to do is keep a simple log of the item that you sold, the quantity and the price. And this you can do in the spreadsheet that I'm going to give you. You can make an extra tab for it. You can do whatever system works for you, but I'm going to give you a spreadsheet for you to keep track of inventory and expenses. And so this is where you would keep track of the income that you're making. You want to keep all receipts for anything that you're spending. So like if you're ordering acrylic keychains that you're custom making, keep the receipt for that. Any packaging, any of display items, anything that you spend money on, business cards, that is tax deductible. So any money that you spend, you will subtract from the amount of money you made, and then that's what you get taxed on. So it's really important to keep track of both all the money that you've spent and the money that you're making. At tax time, you'll subtract these expenses from your total sales. Um, when you're a freelancer, you're a small business owner. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Or as an ArtMarket, like vendor, you are a small business owner. And so even if it's a one-time thing, you're you're self-employed right now. Okay, pricing strategies, pricing your work fairly and effectively. So you want to calculate your base cost. Before you price anything, you need to calculate what your base cost is. And that's essentially the materials. What did it cost to make? How much labor did you spend, an hour, 2 hours? And then how much do you want to be paid per hour? And then any overhead. You really won't have overhead in this case. Overhead is, I mean, maybe a little bit like packaging, table setup. The table's free. You don't have to pay a vendor fee. Um, Signage, yeah, I guess you might create some signage that you have to pay for. Shipping isn't applicable. So your overhead's going to be pretty small, if at all. Labor, you want to figure out how much time did each object take for you to make. And then you want to times that by your hourly rate. So if you want to make $30 an hour and something took you 2 hours to make, so that's $60 in labor, plus the cost of materials. Um, You never want to sell below your minimum price unless you're deliberately doing it for a promotional reason. Okay, now you need to consider your audience, and you have two very distinct audiences, right? We've got the students that are likely to spend between $5 and $30 for small items like prints and stickers, buttons, postcards. And then you have alumni who may spend between $30 and $200 for original piece of art, handmade jewelry, prints, art books. So you want to offer a mix of items that are high value originals, and then also inexpensive things as well, because your peers are going to be excited. They're going to want to have a piece of your art. You can use a tiered pricing structure. So like there's impulse items. Those are kind of the small, inexpensive things, maybe the $5 to $20. Mid-tier items, prints, maybe small originals or functional art. This kind of appeals to both students and alumni. And then the premium, which is probably going to be more for the alumni. That's larger works, limited editions, things that are, maybe over $100. So this gives buyers multiple entry points. Some pricing best practices. So you want to try to have round numbers in case you're dealing with cash. Um, you want an anchoring price. So you put one expensive item on your table to make the mid-tier items look like a better deal. So you could think about bundling things. So offer a discount if someone buys multiple items. You could even do it on the spot as well. If someone's thinking about, they kind of have one thing in their hand they want to buy and they're kind of looking to buy something else, you could say, hey, I'll give that to you for like $5 off if you get both of those things. So, you can do it in the moment, or you can ahead of time, you can make signs and be like, if they buy 3 prints, I'll give them for $12 versus, $5 each. You want to clearly mark your prices. Some people don't like to ask how much something is, and you might be busy with someone else. So you just make sure that the prices are labeled, and you want to highlight the value. So maybe even in the labels, you could explain what materials you used, process, or the story behind the item. Yeah, you want to avoid underpricing, price for value. And then you need to include sales tax in your final price because you're gonna have to pay for that on the back end. So making it easy to get paid, you want to accept cash for convenience. Most things will transactions will probably be digital, but keep change so that you keep cash on hand, small bills, so that you can make change easily. You might want to consider having a QR code ready that maybe goes to your Venmo. So that's also, again, just any friction um, that gets in the way, you want to try to remove that. So when you do the mock-up transaction and table and you play it out, you'll see, oh, actually that took longer. Let me try putting my stuff over here instead, or let me try a different platform that might be smoother. So you'll come across that when you do the practice. Okay, customer engagement and sales. Reading cues, engaging customers. This is alumni. This is like this is like the best ideal customers because you have at least one thing in common that's pretty important. Art Center. The fact that they've like flown here, they've come here means that they have a lot of connection and heart for Art Center. So you already have like a big thing in common. They're going to be really excited to engage with you. They're going to want to know your story. What's it like to be a student now? So say hi to everyone that comes by. I know some of us can be introverted and can be hard, but it really is going to be a very welcoming group. They're going to be eager to connect with you. So you want to make eye contact, you want to smile, and you can sense too if a customer just wants to browse. Um, Feel free to talk to them not about the sales stuff, just like welcome them back, right? It could be years since they've been back at Art Center. So you can even start the conversation. Maybe you have a couple go-to questions that you ask. You can think about these questions ahead of time, and then that could be your entry point for connecting because, sometimes the best way to build interest in your work is just connecting on a human to human level, right? And then you're talking to them for a few minutes and then like, oh, well, what do you have on your table? And then it kind of goes from there. Um, you want to encourage people to follow you online if you have an online presence. Some people might want to have an email list if they're planning to send out promotions or updates, or if you've got a future event. So really use this as a way to build your audience. Um, and focus on the connection rather than the hard sell. That'll be more rewarding for you, and I think it'll be more effective. Okay, marketing and storytelling. So price communicates value, and you want to explain what makes your piece unique. Is it handmade? Is it limited edition? Is it sustainable? Is it experimental? Is it something you'd never done before? What's the story? You want to share 1 to 2 sentences, and here's a whole bunch of different examples. So you can use these and kind of modify them for your own pieces. It's like, oh, this print is part of a series inspired by campus life. It's made with eco-friendly prints or inks. One of my favorites is this piece here is inspired by, and then you can share the story. So again, you'll have the deck, so you'll be able to look at these. And I would encourage you to like write 1 or 2 sentence story about each of your key items. You want to be approachable. Don't undervalue your work. And confidence matters. Even I know it can be hard to, especially if it's your first art market. But you got into ArtMarket, which means you impressed the committee. I wasn't the only one on the committee. There were 3 other people from different departments. So you deserve to be a vendor here. Your work is great, and the alumni are really going to be excited about it. Practice makes perfect. Do a mock sale with a friend, have them buy an item. You can practice your pitch, you can practice taking payments, giving receipt if needed, the packaging. Um, you want to keep your pitches concise, 30 to 60 seconds, like really like 1 or 2 sentences is perfect. And then adjust based on students versus alumni, right? Like see what's working, when you're doing your sales pitch, you're kind of talking about each item and make adjustments along the way. Lastly, we'll talk more about this in the post workshop, but growing your art practice. So hopefully this is not going to be your first and only time doing Art Market. We're going to do Art Market at Art Center at least once a year. And then there's tons of other vending opportunities as well, if you're really excited about this. Um, so some people were asking questions about how do they transition to online sales? What are some follow-up strategies? So like if you collect email addresses, maybe you send a thank you note. If they bought something, maybe you document the people that bought something and so that you can, that's the start of a relationship. That's not the end. You could do social media shout outs if you have their contact info. You want to keep prices simple. Um, yeah, be prepared to negotiate politely. Alumni may expect to buy multiple items at once. So you could encourage that. Everyone loves getting a deal, you know? So if like you see that they're thinking about buying a couple extra things, maybe, you know, take a couple dollars off to see if that excites them. And then we talked about this, but you want to document all your expenses and your sales. That's your profit and loss, your P&L. So in the post art market workshop, we will talk more about taxes and about like kind of what you learned. So your kind of three insights, keep track of that. And yeah, how to grow your business, whatever that is, right? Like this is hopefully some good momentum. For a lot of you, this is your first time doing art market, so you're kind of testing the waters. And now I'd love to take some Q&A if you have any questions. And you can put it in the chat. Let me look at, now I can see the chat. So let me look through, see if there's any questions. Oh, so we can't promote on Instagram. There's no outside people that are allowed to come. So that's the only thing. If you promote it, it's not open to the public.
Okay, so what if I say Art Center invites only in the poster or in the caption?
Yeah, I mean, if you make it clear, that's totally fine if you want to put it out there. I just make it really clear that they won't be able to like you're gonna have to show either a current student ID or alumni will have these will be ticketed events, so they'll like show their ticket.
Oh, how does that work? Ticketed events.
Well, I don't know the details, but I just know that only alumni
Yeah.
and staff and students will be able to get in.
So does everyone pay or is it free
It's
for
free.
arts? Okay, cool.
Art Market is free. Art Market's free. There's other ticketed events. And so I don't know the logistics because I'm not doing the greater alumni event, but I do know that outside people won't be able to come to the art market. The public won't be able to. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What other questions do people have? And if you want to, yeah, Adina.
Hi. So for people that display only, is it okay to give away freebies to people?
Yes. Yes, it is. That's a great idea. If it's, that's doable for you, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like it will be more customer interaction because I don't know. I don't want to just sit and do
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, and I think for display too, thanks for bringing that up because
Hmm.
it's an opportunity for you to engage with alumni and talk about your work.
Yeah.
So you'll get a lot of the experience, it's just when it comes, and I would say keep in touch. A lot of our international students get an OPT visa,
Hmm.
they graduate, and when you have an OPT visa, then you can sell. So, they might not be able to buy from you now, but if you keep in touch with them, when you graduate, I don't know when that is, there's that opportunity. So, but yeah, you absolutely can give things away.
Nice. Thank you.
One thing to just make sure, I know it's in the participation agreement, but it was a question in the last workshop. There's no fan art. You can't legally, it's not legal to make money off of someone else's IP. And that's good because, right, like you all are creating your own IP. You don't want someone making money off of the IP that you created. So that's why we can't have fan art. You can't sell fan art. Um, and um, some people have reached out about sharing a table. If there's someone you want to share a table with, let me know. Email me. And if not, too, it's also a great way to make a new friend is to like um, share a table with them.
How many tables are there? Are there enough tables for everyone as you see now? Because what can happen is I can sell next to the person I desire to. Is that an option?
Well, everyone's going to be sharing a table.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, everyone's going to share a table, and there's two different table lengths, not to get too into the weeds, but one table is 6 feet long. And so
Yeah,
there'll be two people on that table, right? Because
3 by 3. Yeah,
yeah.
that
And
makes sense.
then
Yeah.
there's another table that's 11 feet long. And so we're going to put three people on the 11-foot table. And that ends up they'll get a little bit more space because 11 divided by 3. Um, so those are the two different types of tables. But yeah, so everyone will share a table. Um, and what other questions do people have?
Is there anything that's been particularly popular amongst alumni? Any sort of like strategies or feedback that they've given based on their experiences in the art market?
Good question. I'm not sure. Um, I haven't asked alumni about their art market experience. Are you thinking like kind of like what types of things sell or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, anything that like was a particular draw right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know. Because this is our first time we're doing such a big alumni event.
hmm.
It's like the first, like, I think from my understanding, it's like the first real like school-wide alumni reunion. And I don't know, and this is my first art market. So yeah, I have no idea, but I know that the students are, I mean, they're coming here because they have a lot of excitement about Art Center. They're excited to like connect with current students, to connect with other alumni. So I think it's going to be a really successful art market. I think they're going to be really excited to like get to meet you, hear what it's like to be a student, see your work, buy your work. I know that Karen, they're really like, there's a lot of buzz about the art market. Everyone's really excited about it. Um,
I understand. I see.
yeah, yeah. Maria, did you have a question?
Yeah. Can we bring uh one close friend to be back with us just to help us out selling or like working on our tables?
Yeah, so you can actually. That was a question that we had in the last workshop as well, and I got clarity around from the people running the alumni reunion. Um, and she was asking because her business partner is not a current student or alumni. So if you have, one person that you want to help vend with you, send me their name, their full name. If you could either Slack me, I would say Slack. Let's try to do Slack as opposed to email. But you can also email me as well. Let me know because we're going to need to register them. But
Not
yeah,
not for them to sell, mostly like so that they can help me on my table and stuff.
yeah,
I don't know. Thanks. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
Wait,
yeah.
sorry. So if somebody that didn't go to Art Center wanted to help us, we'd have to like give them your email, right?
Yeah, you'd have to give me their name because we're going to need to have a list at the door.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah. Good question. What else? How many people are new to vending? If you just raise your hand. Okay, cool. Great. Great. Well, I am so excited about this. Are there any other questions before we jump off? Okay. So if you haven't done the participation agreement, today's the deadline to like officially let me know. As soon as this is done, let me stop this recording.